Hi, I'm Dwayne Denny from Surveillance Specialist Group, and welcome to our video blog. Today, I would like to discuss surveillance drones and quadcopters and hexacopters. As you know, the DJI Phantom has gotten really popular, and as a private investigative agency, we saw this as a potential product that we can bring to our client. Now, before I go into the fact that we possibly would be using this surveillance drone, which is what the news or the media wants to call it, I want to dispel a couple of myths. Then I want to show you how you can use this to bring a new product to your client as a private investigator. First, let's talk about the fact that the DJI Phantom allows you to put a camera on it. Well, it's a very small craft and it can only handle a very small payload. Typically, that camera payload is a GoPro. Now, a GoPro is about a 12 megapixel camera. However, in comparison to your iPhone, or if you have a 5S, let's say, that is an 8 pixel camera. So the photographic quality is pretty much the same. I mean, you get a little bit bigger picture, but not much. However, the most important difference is, and where people are trying to say that these are going to invade someone's privacy, well, unless you're going to ban all iPhones or any other type of phone that has a camera in public areas, the GoPro shoots about 1080i, 2.7K, or 4K, I believe. Don't quote me on that if you use the 3+ black. Now, what is the difference? The quality of the camera is just over what you would record on your iPhone. So if someone's in a public area, for example, a beach situation just made the news, well, the quality that the person's gonna get from the GoPro on a quadcopter that's flying way above the crowd is going to be significantly smaller subjects as far as the people on the beach than if somebody was just standing there with an iPhone. Now, you can't ban cameras from the beach, so that if you see some guy with a big telephoto lens, that would be more of an invasion of privacy than somebody flying a quadcopter. Now, the only issue that I take with people flying Phantoms on the beach, and we're going to cover a little bit later, is the fact that if you're flying these in a public area, it's not really such a smart thing to do, because if you're not an experienced flyer, you do have a potential of injuring someone. So in that case, if they were going to regulate Phantoms or flying craft like this, which is typically just a remote control hobby toy aircraft, that's all it is. It's a remote control quadcopter. Yes, there are some models that allow you to fly them autonomously, but we're talking way into the thousands of dollars, and they're not surveillance drones, okay? You can't really use this to do any surveillance. I've been private investigating all of my adult life. You cannot use these to conduct a surveillance on someone. The biggest reason why I say that is they make an incredible amount of noise. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna throw in some footage of a DJI Phantom flying just so you can hear how noisy they are. You're not gonna sneak up on anybody using either one of these models. Now, this here is a hexacopter. It's a DJI 550 model. It's a little bit bigger, it's a bigger platform, and makes a lot more noise. The difference between the two is the larger the platform, the more stable the video. The DJI Phantom in itself just comes with a mount where you can mount a GoPro Hero 2, and it's a great entry-level flying craft for private investigators. Now, let me explain how I see the use of these for private investigators. Often you're called upon to do a surveillance in a very remote location or a very rural area. You do your homework and you try to do some pre-surveillance, and you look on Google Earth or any kind of map view, a satellite view online, and you notice that the house and the surrounding area is covered by foliage. Now, that is a potential problem for an investigator, to the extent that when you go there and you're trying to watch a road, it's really hard for you to determine if there's other places of egress. So potentially you're sitting on a road waiting for somebody to leave, and you notice that they never seem to leave the house because you don't know that there's another road that leads out a different way. An investigator can now take this small craft, fly around the area of the home. Again, I would not fly directly over the home because A, it makes a lot of noise, it could be spotted, and you could be accused of invading someone's privacy by flying it over or possibly trespassing. I don't think legally somebody would win a case like that or want to spend the money to fight it. However, it can cause an issue for your client if you're trying to use the footage in a surveillance. Again, I would never ever attempt to use the footage for this in a surveillance, because the subject would be so small, it would be insignificant, and it would not be enough detail for any jury or anybody to determine exactly what they were doing other than looking up at this Phantom. Next, so if you were called upon to do a, let's say, accident reconstruction, or if there was a car accident and they wanted you to get site photos, one of the great things that this could be used for is putting this in a photo mode, setting it to where it can grab a photograph every so many seconds and possibly fly it over the intersection and get real-time photography of that area. We've all tried to go to a location and put something in our GPS only to find that the roads have changed since our GPS was last updated. The same holds true for Google Earth or Google Map View. Most of those satellite photos could have been taken years in advance. So when you go to those photos, the terrain may have changed, the roads may have changed. This gives you a chance to give your client realistic photos of what the area looked like. Now, why is this important? I recently did an investigation and it involved a woman who tripped over a sidewalk. Well, when I went there to do my investigation and I took pictures of the sidewalks and how the sidewalks were broken, I was able to go above and beyond what my client paid for, in the sense that I was able to compare my real-time aerial photography with the new homes that had been built and the construction that had occurred since the Google Earth photos had been taken. One of the key features of what was in the Google Earth photos is a construction site was storing some of their equipment and some of their material on an empty lot. So what happened was, as they drove over the sidewalk, they wind up damaging the sidewalk. Now, originally, the county that was involved in the lawsuit was the only party joined to the case. After my investigation, I was able to document that a homeowner as well as a strip mall were all storing product or material on this location and destroying the sidewalk. That allowed the attorney to join two more parties, and it took the burden off of the county. In addition to that, I was also able to document that there was a boat stored on the property, and the same homeowner that was building the home was also storing his boat there. And a boat, when it's weighed down with water after it's been in the ocean, is a lot heavier than when it's just sitting in dry dock. Or if a boat's not properly stored in dry dock and rainwater builds up in the boat, that's additional weight, and it's another potential of damaging the sidewalk. So that being said, those are some of the potentials I see of using a quadcopter in private investigating. Again, I can't ever see this being used to follow anyone. I can see it being used for, let's say, if there's a construction site, or just to get a general area or photography of what it looks like. For example, an AI investigator or an accident scene investigator, if there's a huge accident that involves multiple vehicles, well, if you take pictures from the ground, it doesn't realistically tell the story. However, a quadcopter like this would be able to allow the investigator to fly over the scene of the accident and document each vehicle as they sit. So that way, later on, when everyone's trying to sort out this huge accident, the aerial pictures will tell a different story than the pictures from the ground. So if you would think that this is going to be something that you're interested in and use it as an investigative tool, there's lots of videos on YouTube that will explain to you how to fly a quadcopter, how to keep them from flying away from you, things that you can do to add to them to provide safety, such as prop guards. And recently, and don't quote me on this, but there was a judicial decision made that potentially allows the use of quadcopter and their footage to be used commercially. What the FAA was trying to say is that if you had to register a flight plan to fly a quadcopter and use the footage for commercial use, a judge made a decision that said, well, no, these basically hobby or toy crafts did not fit into the same rules as a plane. Because years ago, to do aerial photography, you had to hire somebody with a helicopter or a pilot's license in order to use that footage for commercial use, and they had to register a flight plan in advance. Now, there are some other rules, and you have to check your local laws as far as your federal laws. Do your homework to determine whether or not it's safe and legal for you to fly these things where you are. Potentially, one of the rules is making sure that you stay below 400 feet. Again, don't quote me on anything. Do your homework. Contact an attorney to be sure. Next, if you're using this commercially, or even if you're using it as a hobbyist, there is insurance that you can buy in order to fly these. I would never ever fly these without the safeguards of having insurance. Our private investigative agency carries a lot of insurance for errors and omissions as well as liability, but we also carry additional insurance that covers not only our equipment, but our use of our equipment. If someone possibly sees you load one of these into the back of your car and they wind up breaking into your vehicle and stealing it, well, that's your investment down the tubes. A small price for insurance would cover you against that. If you are flying this and it potentially injures someone, you would have your insurance from your liability as well as your insurance that covers the craft. So look into the insurance, but be smart, be responsible. Don't fly these in areas that you have a potential of injuring anyone. Now, we would like to offer a chance for people to win your own DJI Phantom. What we're looking to do is have people join us on Twitter as well as our Facebook page. Our Twitter is SSGLLCORG. Our Facebook is Surveillance Specialist Group. If you join us on Facebook and Twitter, what we're gonna do is after we reach a certain amount of new people or followers, we are going to give away a DJI Phantom for free. And we're gonna announce it here in the show, and we're gonna let the person who goes on and leaves comments and likes us here on YouTube and likes us on Facebook and follows us on Twitter, we are going to announce that winner, and you're gonna be able to see who we picked. So we're not just gonna say we're gonna give one away, we're actually gonna do it. Going forward, we apologize that we haven't had a chance to make videos in a really long time, but I've been doing a lot of training on my computer forensics and mobile forensics. I've always been a forensics and information technology investigator. However, with all the recent advances in mobile phones and new technology coming out, I've been really busy and haven't had a chance to make videos. However, what I'm gonna do in a new series is we're gonna walk you through an investigation that started off with a USB recording device, and we're gonna show you how we handle the investigation, how we follow the evidence, and where it ultimately led us to help us catch the person who planted the device in the first place. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.